Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Pixel at LilyandJasper and this is my first YouTube video. I've been sitting on the idea of a YouTube channel for quite some time now, but I figured that I'd rather do something with the idea than wait forever for something perfect. Because nothing is perfect. Anywho, I decided my first video will be a compilation of fan art related speed paints, one canon character of a pre-existing property per request. I left the request door open on my DeviantArt and like moths to a light bulb, they came in. Unfortunately, I could limit myself to only 5 requests this time around, so if your request didn't come in, I apologize. I'm just one person, and there's only so much drawing I can do at a time. I'll admit nearly all of the characters for the speed paints I am not familiar with, at least in terms of their lore. I've seen them before, I just don't know much about them, so if I say anything incorrect, I apologize in advance. My media diet is pretty limited as and I hope that would change going forward. Now with the introductions done and dusted, let's hop on to the first speed paint. Upon receiving this request, I decided to watch the Donkey Kong Bonanza game trailer, which the game would probably be released by the time this video is published, so anything I know about this game is based off the trailer alone. I don't really have much thoughts on the game outside of, holy crap, this thing looks really fun. If I had a Switch, I would buy this in a heartbeat. Also, DK's new look with the pants and the suspenders, along with a young Pauline, gives me massive Wreck-It Ralph vibes. For all of the drawings I'm doing today, I'm going for something a little more simple. Flat colors with minimal shading in the eyes and vibrant backgrounds. I originally drew the request before on a 886 by 12,000 pixel resolution size, but it wasn't until I had finished the drawing and brought the recorded footage to Premiere Pro that I realized that the drawing was not going to properly fit a 16 by 9 video format. So, feeling stupid, I decided to have to start over. But because I ended up drawing young Pauline twice, getting through the second drawing was so much faster. Not gonna lie, drawing a 3D character into 2D can be a little bit challenging, mainly because you still want the design to translate well between mediums, but also the color picking. Hopefully I did Pauline justice. Her child design is pretty cute, and I did have a lot of fun drawing her, so there you have it. Next up, we have Kana Kamui from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I had to watch a couple of episodes of the anime for the video just to get a feel for Kana's personality. I watched all the way up until about episode 5, I think, and it's alright. I don't know why, just something about the show isn't clicking with me. Maybe it's the fan service at the forefront with not much going on, but hey, maybe 5 episodes is enough to showcase what the show is capable of. Luckily, with the short time I spent with the series, I did take a little bit of a liking towards Kana. Normally when we get these young children characters in anime, they're either super bubbly or bratty. You know, like real kids. So it's nice to get a little more soft-spoken child. Also, her design is super cute. I love her horns, I love her pigtails, and I love her powers. I am a sucker for electrical powers, so you can imagine the joy I felt seeing Kana with a tail that plugs into a wall. Because, look at me. Due to the 16 by 9 resolution, I had to be pretty careful with what poses I can use to best convey the personality of the characters I'm drawing. Kana has a more quiet personality compared to the likes of Toru from the same series, so I hope that this pose with her arms forming a heart is a bit more dynamic but true to her character. Something I also like about her is the eyes. I like that all the dragons in their human forms have slit pupils, with the pupils not being black. I just find that very pretty. What I'm not too crazy about is the borderline non-existent nose on the characters. Maybe it's just me, but I kinda don't like it when certain anime art styles put so much detail into the eyes of the characters, and then they have a single 1-dot pixel for a nose. It makes them all look like some variation of Krillin from Dragon Ball. It's not the worst thing in the world, of course, but because I'm drawing this in my art style, I'm worried about it not looking like the actual character anymore. And with that, Kana is ready. Our next speed paint request is Koichi Hamawari from My Hero Academia Vigilantes. A bit of a tangent here, but I remember around late 2018 to all of 2019, I was on a huge My Hero Academia high. I loved Class 1A, I loved all of the unique powers, and I especially loved Izuku's determination. I hated how some people made fun of Izuku for being a quote-unquote crybaby, but Look at what he's crying about. He just wanted to be a hero, but was told that he couldn't be one without a quirk, and was constantly bullied by the one person he considered a friend. I'd be crying too. Probably wouldn't have lived to be this age because high school was hell for me back in the day. Anyways, at the time there was only 3 seasons in the anime, so I was definitely around when seasons 4 through 6 were airing week to week over the years. Unfortunately, due to my busy schedule in real life, I left off somewhere in season 7 and haven't picked it up since. I think where I left off was somewhere around the time where Izuku finally arrived to the battlefield to fight Shigaraki. Maybe I should rewatch My Hero Academia from the beginning. I had a lot of fun with the series back then, so why not? At the time of this recording, I've watched the first 3 episodes of My Hero Academia Vigilantes so far, and I'm more than likely to continue watching. Maybe even picking up the manga to finish the rest of the series. I love the idea of Vigilantes as there's only so many heroes to go around, and sometimes the law doesn't deliver the justice needed for its citizens, so I don't blame the Vigilantes taking justice into their own hands. Very chaotically good of them. Also, I do love Koichi. I doubt it's confirmed, but he does give me neurodivergent vibes, with how awkward he is, missing social cues, keeping cool under dangerous situations, and not being careful with his words. I'm neurodivergent myself, so whenever I come across characters like that, I'm like, damn, you're just like me for real. Also, his quirk slip and slide looks goofy as all hell. Very versatile, don't get me wrong, but still goofy looking. It's like watching a baby deer slide on ice. I wanted to try a full body pose this time around with Koichi. Obviously, a crouching pose would have been the best choice considering his powers. I admit I had a hard time with the anatomy for the pose. As of late, I've been drawing with my simplified art style, which consists of large heads, short torsos, and lanky limbs. So returning to my more anime-esque style has been a bit of a challenge. At some point, I also missed the stripes on the hoodie going on the upper arms and shoulders, but luckily I was able to catch the mistake before I was done. I was originally going to draw a city alley background for the drawing, but I felt like it would look artistically inconsistent with the other requests, so I just stuck with the simple background. And there you have it, Koichi ready for some action. I hope you like it. Alright, so this part of the video was something I was not even sure how I was going to discuss it, and that's simply because of how different it is from the rest of the other drawings. Everything up until this point has been pretty lighthearted for the most part, and now we got sad and bleak. So, The Crow. Where exactly do I even begin with this one? Well, for one, I actually did manage to get a hold of the 1989 graphic novel. I read it from start to finish, and I actually enjoyed it. A revenge story about an undead man going after literal garbage pieces of human beings who not only killed him, but also violated his fiancée before brutally ending her life as well. Pretty heavy stuff. Especially after knowing where the author got his inspiration from, I'm constantly reminded that great pieces of art don't always come from the happiest of places. As far as Eric goes, I really do love how the story humanized him. I did like those moments of Eric finding each one of the gang members and offing them, of course. Those guys. But those moments of vulnerability where he is remembering his life with his fiancée really did choke me up at times, making it all the more heartbreaking to read when the incident that ended Eric and Shelley's lives did play out on page. Oh, and those small moments of him interacting with others on his journey, like Gabriel the cat, Officer Albrecht, and especially little Shelley, really showed that his trauma didn't turn him into a monster. And that's not even touching the final scene with him and the Crow, where the Crow demands Eric to forgive himself because he kinda blamed himself for what happened to Shelley. And I'm with the Crow on this one. He got blipped in the head and was completely immobilized. There was really nothing he could have done. But I get it. Trauma has a really ugly way of making one think, if I had done this or that, this awful thing wouldn't have happened. But some things are not in our control, and all we can do is forgive ourselves and move forward. Okay, now onto the drawing. This was honestly the hardest request to draw, only because I wasn't even sure how I was going to draw Eric. My style of drawing is pretty cutesy looking no matter how much I try not to, and it upsets me in a way I can't describe. In the end, I elected to mimic the comic's black and white look. I know there are colored images of Eric already, but I felt like the lack of color in the comic added to the overall bleakness of the story. I think the only real difficulties I had with this drawing was the choice for the pose and Eric's clothes. For the latter, I knew he had multiple different outfits throughout the story, but it got to a point where I had a hard time choosing one to reference. Almost to the point where I emphasize almost, made him shirtless. But then I remembered that one top he wore during that encounter at Gideon's Pond and thought, yep, that's the one. Finally, for the pose, I chose to make Eric hold both a gun and a sword. He used multiple weapons throughout the comic to hunt down T-Bird and his punk-ass gang, so I was pretty spoiled for choice. The gun was an obvious choice, but I felt the sword helped reduce the negative space in the canvas. And finally, I had to add the titular crow, followed with some black feathers. Man, if this ends up looking too cute, I'm throwing myself off a cliff, oh my god. And last but not least, our final speed paint for the video is Shantae, dressed in the Space Princess outfit from Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. When I said nearly all of the characters requested on this video I did not know, that would have really been all had it not been for Shantae being the only one I was actually familiar with. Seriously, the first music piece of this video is Mermaid Falls from Half Genie Hero. I had played 2 of the games in the past, Half Genie Hero on my old PC during quarantine, and 7 Sirens on my phone via Apple Arcade a few years later. Which kinda sucks that I never played Pirate's Curse before, cause I feel like that game had the best story throughout the entire series. Still, I don't envy those who had to play the Tan Line Temple. Stealth levels in video games stress me the hell out, so I can only imagine how annoying that level must have been to play. Also, a few things. I'm not sure how I feel about this level just being blatant fan service to get all the main girlies into the Space Princess outfits. Don't get me wrong, it's not the most convoluted fan service out there, but damn, at least try to fool me. Also, not a big fan of the fat shaming. Just no, we don't do that here. However, the whole story of the temple residents believing each girl to be their long-lost princess, only for the real princess to show up at the end because she was out grocery shopping for half an hour, did get a laugh out of me. I also love that Roddy Tops is the only one enjoying the whole situation. Like, that's just Roddy Tops for you. We love Roddy Tops in this household. I admit I did struggle a little bit on this last request. I just couldn't get the pose I wanted right until I finally landed on this lounging pose, and then everything just clicked from there. The outfit was a little tricky to figure out how to draw to this pose though. There's only one text box sprite of Shantae in the Space Princess outfit, and I don't know if there's any concept art of it anywhere either. So that part along with the in-game pixel sprite was all that I can work with for reference. I also wasn't even sure if the outfit was barefoot or not. Sky did mention how difficult it was to walk in the quote-unquote shoes the outfit came with, but staring intensely at all of the girls' pixel sprites, they all appear barefoot. Maybe they're barefoot sandals? Whatever, that's way more talk about feet than I would like to. And finally, aside from Shantae and the costume, I also drew in some pillows for her to lie on top of, which is a reference to the pillows seen in the area the player gets sent to at the start of the level. And that's the last of the requests done and dusted. Whew. I'm not even gonna lie, this video took way longer than I intended. I had to make sure I had something to yap about throughout all of these speed paints, so having to sit down and consume as much as I could of each media ate up my time. I'm not sure when I could open requests again anytime soon. Maybe one day should we hit a milestone on this channel, maybe 500 to 1,000 subscribers, I can do another speed paint request video with another 5 requests. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and comment which of the requests you liked the most. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much for watching.